The rest of them, they all coming?
Who?
The council.
Hey,
Hey, this will be a special council meeting now?
Special planning and zoning meeting.
Well, I thought we talked about, I thought when we had a council meeting, we gonna have a special, so we don't, the council don't have to be here?
Correct.
I'll sit down.
Planning and zoning, yes.
So.
Okay,
Rachel.
but can we talk about having a special council?
No, special planning and zoning.
Just wanted to be.
Oh, I'll go back. I need to get the mop on the floor, I'm mopping. I got to go back mopping again. Hey, on my face, since I'm here.
I didn't think anything of it, because sometimes you come.
I know.
Let me move down to my seat then.
Okay, yeah.
This is what we talked about.
Yeah.
See anything from down here, ma'am? Coming down here.
I'm gonna go down there.
Yeah, I thought we talked about something that needed to be passed, so I probably was going to special meeting.
That way I have room to spread out. In just a second. Okay. Sure, microphones are on.
And if the batteries aren't dead.
7:02. Just give me 1 second. My agenda. You have the agenda.
Pardon?
You have the agenda.
I can.
And we'll go ahead.
I have a correction, I think, before we. On this notice is public hearing. No, it's not.
Almost got it. Works great until technology doesn't work great.
Yeah, and everything's down.
I'm finding the notices. Was that in the first one that I didn't see?
Might not have since it's a special meeting. So we'll go ahead and just call this meeting to order at 7:03. And this is a special meeting that was published to consider the zoning district change for Mr. Jude that was held on June 8th, I believe was the last date, just so that we can keep that moving along. So this meeting is only for that purpose. Roll call. I am here in McCreary.
Present.
Lager.
Present.
Present.
And Rooney is not here. And I haven't heard from him, but Polly and Tiffany both said they could not be here. But this is a zoning district change, which properly goes to the planning commission, so we have a quorum, so we can proceed. We don't have any minutes from the last meeting yet, though Brian has interviewed a administrative assistant, so hopefully we'll have minutes coming up here shortly. So I will first say thanks to the committee. When I got theater tickets 6 months ago, I wasn't anticipating a new village administrator that was going to be out of town on a pre-planned vacation and 2 new members at the meeting that night, and have a complicated thing. So for those of you who were here, I appreciate that trial by fire. So with that, I know Mr. June is here. The committee wanted, I've watched the video a little bit, but the committee wanted some more time to discuss and have some conversation on the zoning code change. I understand that there were some residents here that also were opposed to the zoning code change. Though I kind of wish they would have shown up tonight, because I tell them you guys careful what you ask for, because right now it's a general business, so there's absolutely nothing that stops a Dollar General or a building like Superhero Nutrition is in from going on that lot with nothing more than a permit application. And so if their concern is traffic and stuff like that, I think residential has less traffic use than that as it is. With that, I'll turn it over to what questions and discussion do you want to follow up on here?
Well, one of my questions was site, which I've got a drawing that now, which I appreciate. That was just one of the things I wasn't sure of, access, how the roadway was going to come in and so forth. Do you know the square footage of what that lot is? Because on the others, it's like it's split up between, it says, I believe it's residential home site and then undeveloped.
According to the current auditor site, it shows it all as one lot.
Right, but it also shows it divided up on the tax card though. And the reason I asked is, the minimum footage for multi-family dwelling is 10,000 square. I think, according to my math, it's just over that. I just want to make sure that we got that covered.
I'm not aware of any parcel.
Well,
There's one parcel.
and I think, yeah, it's one parcel now. If it's previously been 2 parcels, Ken, and was combined, it may have 2 tax parcel numbers still. But my understanding is this is the rezoning is the first in a probably a 3-step plan. First is getting it rezoned. The second then is figuring out, because you may or may not want to split the lot. Correct? Because I think that the plan is to build 2 of these homes on it.
That's right.
And the next step will be to determine whether, as the developer pursues a variance to have 2 buildings on one parcel, or split the lots.
Right.
And then if you split the lots, it still may require a variance because of the multifamily setting, but this is just the first step in getting it there.
Right. I guess my next question would be, and this is the same thing one of the things I questioned 2 weeks ago was, is this actually a BZA thing, or would this be more practical? We go through planning and zoning.
A zoning code change to change the zoning map goes through planning and zoning, and then ordinance.
Right.
So it's before this committee, right? The last time with the BZA and talking about it because of how it was filed and the way we were working at it, it got noticed as a variance. It doesn't hurt anything. The BZA members were on it, but it goes through planning commission and then council actually has to approve it. So the zoning code change isn't done until planning commission makes the recommendation to do it, and then council also has to pass an ordinance for it.
So are we acting as planning and zoning tonight, or are we?
Planning.
Okay. That's where I was confused. I thought this was actually just a continuation of BZA.
Well, yeah, and it was a little confusing with the last time, but yeah, no, it's planning consent.
Okay, good.
And in the change in this process kind of came about, because it could have been a BZA, the variance could have been sought to do it, but because it's a residential and where it's at, changing it to a mixed residential use is quite frankly better for the village long term than leaving it as general. So that's why this is being pursued. Mr. Jukes had quite a few conversations with Mr. Holbrook about how to get this through. And
Right. Yeah, I personally think it's good use for the property. That's, it's not in an ideal location if someone wanted to build a private home. I think it's actually a very good location as a rental property. I should make sure we're covering all our bases.
I also just want to make sure, did we provide enough notice for this meeting?
this is a special one, yes.
So it's, okay,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure for the residents, I think this is a good idea as well. I just want to make sure.
48 hours.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And then I guess, Mr. Jude, just for the committee's knowledge of what comes next, if they approve the zoning code change tonight, and it goes to council, while that's pending in council, what are your next steps? Is that then going to be figuring out whether you're going to split the lot or do a variance for 2 builds, or?
Well, as I understand the code, if it goes to MRV, a variance is not required. If I could do 2 buildings on one lot with the MRV. So, which is part of the reason for making that change, so that I asked for the variance.
Right. With 10,000 square feet per building.
Right, that's why I wanted to make sure we had a square footage.
Lots like 1.2 acres, and I believe it's a maximum of 4 residences per acre. So it does meet that.
Which means once it goes through council, application gets submitted, if everything's in line, it doesn't even have to come back before the committee. Other questions, concerns?
No, I agree, it's a good idea. I mean, I'd rather see that there than another bar.
Yeah.
I'd be honest with you.
Uh,
I'm gonna talk to Danny Rogan too.
I did drive by over there and saw that Romulus Street is actually a street back in there. One of my other concerns was, do we allow the primary entrance off of an alley?
The primary entrance will be off of Romulus Street.
Well, in this site plan, only one of them is. The other one would be off the alley.
Well, but if it's 2 buildings on one parcel, it's an entrance to the parcel.
Okay, well, what my concern is though, we need to be set back more to where the drive doesn't come off of an alley. It needs to come, the driveway entrance needs to come off the street, doesn't it?
Well, I would normally say yes, except council is going to start discussing alleys, and I brought up heterodox, which is the alley that has residences on it. It's been named, it starts as the alley right behind your building.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to think, what houses have the main entrance off of it?
There's someone with a heterodox,
Maybe Joe Farmers, or is his off of
but
behind it?
I think, so when you're talking parcels though, typically you have one entrance to a parcel. And you might have another driveway with buildings, and that'll be something unique that when the final site plan gets filed gets looked at. But it wouldn't be, I don't know, because we've got lots of places around here that they go into off of alleys.
Well, normally it's a rear entrance, so not the main entrance. That was my only other real concern was the way this site, I realize this is probably just preliminary, correct? The one to the east is definitely covered, but the one on the west would be iffy as far as
Because it comes off the alley.
all the entrances coming off the alley. Now, would it be possible to back those up a little bit to where you have like a main entrance come off of Romulus?
Purpose of that, sir.
I've just covered that issue.
It doesn't change anything now. All we are proposing to do is use the existing alleyway as the service road to the property, which also benefits the people around there because then Romulus is not a dead end. And neither is the other alley that comes in behind the church.
Although at that point, doesn't the town, aren't they responsible for maintaining more roadway as well then?
Well, if it's an alley, again, council's going to reconsider whether or not they resume maintenance of alleys because the focus has been on streets.
Right.
But there's lots of things that can be done there. I mean, you could, it became a dedicated roadway instead of an alleyway. There's lots of options there.
Oh, right. I guess I just don't want to force the town to do something in addition. Unforeseen, I guess.
Yeah.
We're essentially talking about taking that with that development of that alley, then you already have the extension of Romulus back in there. That would make a loop, sort of, so that there would be, seems like that would be advantageous to the individuals residing there as well as for emergency purposes. I know that it's really close to the church there, but I think we said there's like a foot clearing or something.
Yeah, we pulled that up at the
That's what
council
I'm,
meeting. Yeah.
that's what I'm pulling up on my Google Earth right now. I just wanted to see.
Yeah.
So are there plans with the village as far as for improving that alley then?
I think that was conversation that we were to discuss in council.
Yeah, they're going to discuss alleys in general.
Okay.
An extended conversation of that. We brought that up now the past 2 meetings. So it's going to be.
Because there are other alleys that are issues and not issues in the village. And it's a good thing to keep in mind. I guess where I'm struggling with it is, to me, that's the next permit application issue, not a zoning code change issue. Because right now this is just a proposed plan.
Right.
The plan could come back and just be one building on the entire 1 acre parcel. You know, it's right now, it's just a concept idea. Rather than 2 there, if it gets filed with 2, then the zoning administrator looks at it and does all of their checklist thing to make sure everything's in order. If something isn't in line with it being in an alley, then it comes back to the committee. But if it is in line, then it goes through. But I guess that's, like I said, that's the next steps problem. Right now, is it a better use of a MRZ as opposed to general business? Knowing that it's going to be
That's why I
converted
want
into a residential
widen this.
lot.
Because you got
whether it's one building with 2 units or 2 buildings with a total of 4 units is to be determined.
I'm probably getting too far ahead here.
But it's consideration for, like you said, for the village, because it is an alleyway. Alleys is on
If we could,
councils.
I have this pulled up and it does appear that that alley is very narrow.
Do you want me to pull it up on the big
I
screen?
think that would be advantageous for us to see that. But that particular alley, and again, I know we're gonna have this conversation just to allow everybody to see what we're talking about. Romulus, I don't think is a concern because it's been widened to what, two cars at least wide, so emergency equipment could get back through there easily.
Split up because it's easier to do over here and then transfer over there. And you did street view from Main Street looking down.
Yes.
Yep.
That appears to be,
Here's what-
yeah.
So I guess as I'm looking at this alley, I'm trying to think. The alley right off of that runs parallel to Washington at Oak. And there's a house on the corner and then there's the big red house. And they access it. I guess I'm going back to the question that Kenny had, is there a difference if someone's going to their garage every day and the garage is in the back of their house and they're going to it off of an alley versus the front of their house? Again, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves, but now that I'm putting this up here, I don't know that there's a difference.
You want to make the alley one way, so when they back in the alley to come out of the garage, they go east, then go south, maybe.
Again, that sounds like a consideration for when the site plan for what is,
Mhm.
and everything's concrete at that point.
I think this is just something definitely to discuss. I know today is basically talking about changing the zoning of that particular property, but this would be part of the conversation, how to make sure the flow of traffic would be handled properly.
Back to the earlier point that you're looking at the flow of traffic for vehicles total.
Right.
Potentially hundreds if we're some.
Right. No, and I'm just saying, I'm also thinking emergency equipment, just access. So, no, I agree with you. If it were to be business, obviously there could be many more cars having access, but being that it's going to be residential.
And just on my experience in public safety, you're really not restricting that alley with his curb cuts and the setbacks and required 20 feet, I believe. 25, I think is what you said.
I think it's 25 or 26 feet is what's John the scale on
So it would even, actually, it would be more improved in his driveways than it would be as it sits now.
Yeah.
To some degree. And I have worked with the fire department on many occasions, and if they need to drive through there, they will.
That'd be fine. Okay.
It just, this is important.
Well, and like I said, a couple weeks ago, I'm not in favor of spot zoning. But I think in this situation, I think it's probably a good use of property. You're right up against, yes, you have the business jumping out to the west, but to the north is all residential. So I think using that as residential use is not bad, and because of the railway there, it's not most desirable for a private home. So I think for rental locations is probably a good fit.
And if you go catty corner across the railroad tracks, that gets you at the crazy corner there, Water Street.
Yeah.
Which is MRV as well. So technically, even though it's parsed by the railroad tracks, there's a catty corner adjacent parcel on MRV as well.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Any other questions or discussion? Not, is there a motion? And this would be a motion to approve the zoning map change from general business to mixed residential MRV.
And this would be us, the motion would be to approve it through planning and zoning to go then go to council. Correct. I would make that motion.
And I will second the motion to change it from general business to MRV.
Any other discussion? If not, roll. Margaret,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
yes. And I vote yes. And with 4 votes, motion passes. So this will go to council. Mr. Cleary will be the sponsor on that ordinance as the council rep here. And so appreciate it. So what happens for you next is we'll get an ordinance on for council. They have to do their readings of it. But based on council discussion, I wouldn't anticipate any changes. They either get a vote yes or no. And it seemed like the other night, council seemed in favor of it as well. So now it's just waiting for basically the red tape for the bureaucracy to get done for you. So you could probably go ahead and start submitting the next level application if you want it. And by the time it gets processed and goes through its approval process, it should be just about time. Make sense?
So what is the timeline as far as the next council meeting?
So council, I'll send this to the village solicitor to let them know to change it. We'll try to get it on for a first reading at the next council meeting. It'll have to go at least one other council meeting because they have to have a public hearing on it as well. But in the last couple of years, council is a lot of times, sometimes they've let it go to a third reading. So at most you're looking 1, 2, 3 meetings. Depending on feedback at the public hearing, sometimes they just went ahead and bypassed the third reading and passed it then. So you're looking at roughly a month.
June 26th and then July 10th. Those are the next 2 meetings.
So the earliest it could be would be July 10th.
The latest will be December, or the 24th.
Yep. Again, this was a special meeting for that, so there's no other business. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Or second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, unanimous voice vote. Thank you very much for making it in on short notice and to wrap this up. And I'm just waiting for a while to get this done. So I do appreciate it.
Again, thank you for your patience.
Nice to see you, Counselor. Okay.
We won't even talk to you about getting a updated zoning book. Planning and zoning.
You should be mostly updated.
Well, I know